we will deal with chapter number 6 in chemistry, that is chemical reaction. But before we do the chemical reaction, I'm going to discuss chemical bonding, okay, which is very, very important in ICSE, a very important topic or a chapter in ICSE. So we'll just discuss it as a topic, a part of the chapter in chemistry in class 8. So we will talk about chemical bonds today and different types of chemical reaction. So what is a chemical bond? Now the force of attraction that holds the ions and the atoms together in a compound or in a molecule is called a chemical bond. So if a compound is formed, there is always a bond between the 2 or 3 or whatever number of elements take part in the formation of the compound. So there is a force of attraction between the atoms of molecules, and this force of attraction is known as the chemical bond. And there are two types of chemical bond. The first one is electrovalent bond. Electrovalent bond. Now the electrovalent bond, and the other one is, you must be wondering what it is. I'll tell you, it is covalent bond. And electrovalent bond or covalent bond. So electrovalent bond is also known as ionic bond. Ionic bond. Why is it called ionic bond? Because ions are formed. So I'll tell you, I'll give you an example for the formation of ionic bond, you will understand. Okay. Now, electrovalent bond takes place between the metal and non-metal. Please remember this. If there is a compound formed between metal and a non-metal, then it has to be electrovalent bond or the ionic bond. Now, metals will always give electrons. There's a transfer of electrons between a metal and a non-metal atom. Okay, there's a transfer of electrons from metal to non-metallic atom. So this is called the covalent bond. So metal always loses or gives electrons, and non-metal always receive electrons. So metals always give electrons, whereas non-metal always receive electrons. So during the formation of ionic bond or the ionic compound, the transfer of electrons from one atom to another takes place, so that both the atoms they achieve. Now why do they achieve stable electronic configuration? Now why do electrons combine? They combine to have stable electronic configuration. Please remember that. So metals are always electropositive and non-metals are always electronegative. Means metals always form positive ions, whereas non-metals always form negative ions. So I'll give an example between the metal and a non-metal. So a compound formed between a metal and a non-metal by electrovalent bond, or we'll talk about an electrovalent compound so that you understand what it is, what takes place actually here. Now there's a compound formed between let's say sodium and a non-metal chlorine. A non-metal chlorine. Now, sodium. What is the atomic number? Atomic number is 11. Atomic number is 11, and chlorine atomic number is 17. You need not remember the atomic number. Okay, it will be given to you. So that's not a problem. But you have to know the electronic configuration that we dealt last year in class 7. So sodium atomic number is 211. So the electronic configuration is 2, 8 and 1, as we already know. We have already dealt it in class 7. The electronic configuration of chlorine would be, atomic number is 17. So electronic configuration of sodium would be 2, 8 and 7. So electronic configuration. So how many electrons in the outermost shell sodium has? It has 1. Therefore it is a metal. Metals always have in the outermost shell either 1 or 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost shell, and non-metals will always have more than 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. Okay. So why do elements combine? Elements combine to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. They must have 8 electrons to have a stable electronic configuration, as we all know. So to have a stable electronic configuration means to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So therefore they combine. Sodium has 1 electron in the outermost shell, and chlorine, they have 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So therefore they combine together to have a stable electronic configuration. Now how? I'm going to tell you. So let us talk about the outermost shell of sodium. Sodium will have how many electrons in the outermost shell? The sodium, Na. Sodium atom will have 1 electron in its outermost shell. And chlorine, or the chloride atom, or the chlorine atom will have how many? 7 electrons in the outermost shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So how many electrons does chlorine need to be stable? It needs 1 electron to have a stable electronic configuration, or having 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So sodium will give 1 electron to chlorine. Okay, so sodium will lose this 1 electron. Actually, it has 1 electron in the outermost shell, which is given to chlorine to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So since it is between a metal and a non-metal, metal always gives electrons and non-metals always receive electrons. Metals always lose electrons, whereas metals always lose electrons, while non-metals always gain electrons. So metals loses, non-metals gain electrons. Okay, so chlorine, how many electrons does it need to have a stable electronic configuration, or to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell? It needs 1. So it gets from the sodium. Sodium will lose 1 electron, or gives 1 electron to chlorine, and chlorine will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 now, after receiving 1 electron from the atom of sodium. Now the sodium loses this electron. Now it will have 8 electrons in the outermost shell, and it will have 8, or both of them will have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. That means they have a stable electronic configuration. So atomic number is 11. So what is the number of protons? 11. As we all know, we dealt it in class 7. Number of electrons also 11. But now after losing 1 electron, it has 10 electrons in the outermost shell. So similarly, chlorine, what is the atomic number? 17. So what is the number of protons chlorine have? Total 17. 17 positive charges. And what is the number of electrons? Actually it had also 17 electrons. But now it will have 18 electrons after receiving. So after losing 1 electron, sodium will have 10 electrons, and chlorine will have, after gaining 1 electron from sodium, it will have 18 electrons. So sodium will have 1 electron less. That means 1 proton more. So therefore sodium will be an ion, positively charged ion, whereas this is called chloride ions. Now the chlorine will receive 1 extra electron from sodium, so it becomes Na plus, and it becomes Cl minus. So metals are electropositive because it forms positive ions, and non-metals are electronegative. Why? Because it forms negative ions or anions. This is the cation. The positive ions are called cation, and the negative ions are called anions. So this is the formation of an example for the formation of electrovalent compound, or the formation of electrovalent bond between a metallic and a non-metallic atom. I hope you understood. Now we go to the next part, that is the covalent bond, the formation of the covalent bond. Okay, now electrovalent bond takes place between the atomic metallic atom and non-metallic atom, between a metal and a non-metal, whereas covalent bond takes place between atoms of non-metals only. Okay, so when the two atoms share electrons, a bond is formed between the two, which is known as the covalent bond, or the compound which is formed by the sharing of electrons is called covalent compounds. Okay, now let us talk about hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen, formation of hydrogen. Okay, now hydrogen atom, hydrogen molecule, formation of hydrogen molecule. Now hydrogen atomic number is 1. Okay, so how many electrons will hydrogen have? It will have only 1 electron in the outermost shell. So the first shell, the maximum number of electrons in the first shell is, we already know it is 2. We have learnt it last year, the electronic configuration. So since it has only 1 electron, it will have only 1 shell which consists of only 1 atom, 1 electron. So it combines with another hydrogen. Now as I already told you, why do elements combine, whether it's a metal or a non-metal? Why do elements combine? The elements will combine together so that the atoms have the attain the stable electronic configuration. Now the maximum number of electrons in the first shell is 2. So hydrogen, the only shell of hydrogen can have maximum only 2 electrons. So therefore this is called the duplet theory. We'll learn it in class 10. It's called the duplet. Hydrogen is the only element which follows duplet rule, whereas the rest of the elements will follow octet rule. That means having 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So since hydrogen has only 1 shell and the maximum number of electrons hydrogen can have in that but only shell is 2, so therefore it will follow duplet rule. So it must have 2 electrons in the outermost shell to attain a stable electronic configuration. So hydrogen will combine with, since it is between hydrogen and hydrogen molecule, so another hydrogen will come, since it is a non-metal, so another hydrogen will come and share its electron with another atom of hydrogen. So a single, that means since 1 pair of electrons is being shared, so we'll have this dash represents covalent bond, a single covalent bond. 1 pair of electrons, single covalent bond. 2 pairs of electrons, double covalent bonds. 3 pairs of electrons, triple covalent bond. So since over here we have only 1 pair of electrons, so they're shared between the 2 atoms, so therefore a single bond, and the formula would be H2. In this case we will not have any ions. Okay, we will not have any ions formed. Why? Because there is sharing of electrons and not transfer of electrons. So when there is a transfer of electrons, then only we have ions between a metallic atom and a non-metallic atom. But over here we are talking about covalent bond by the sharing of electrons between non-metallic atoms. So therefore no ions will be formed. Is it okay? Now next is, we'll talk about chlorine molecules. Now we talk about what? Chlorine molecule. All right. So chlorine atomic number is 17. Atomic number is 17, and the electronic configuration. Chlorine atomic number is 17. The electronic configuration is 2, 8, and 7. So we are interested only in the outermost shell. We are interested only in the outermost shell. So we will draw only the outermost shell. So chlorine atomic number is 17. Electronic configuration is 2, 8, and 7. So it will have 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So since chlorine follows octet rule, means having 8 electrons in the outermost shell, to have a stable electronic configuration. So it will combine with another molecule of chlorine. So since chlorine is a non-metal, and there is a bond formed between, a compound formed between a metal and a non-metal, a molecule formed between a metal and a non-metal and a non-metal. So therefore it will be formed by the sharing of electrons by covalent bond. Okay, now 1, 2, this chlorine atom will have how many electrons? Also it will have 7 electrons in the outermost shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it shares this electron. All right, so a single bond is formed. Cl not minus, it is a single bond, means one pair of electrons is being shared. So Cl2. The formula is Cl. So this is an example. These are the examples of the formation of the covalent bond and the electrovalent bond. So we talked about sodium chloride, the formation of sodium chloride, namak we call it, the salt, common salt, and the formation of hydrogen and chlorine molecule. So we will do some more of this chapter in detail in class 9. Okay, so I hope you understood the formation between the formation of covalent bond and electrovalent bond. So we will continue with the types of chemical reaction in the next class. So thank you so much.